Hello and welcome to Notes on Film. My name is Josue Peralta, and this is day 1 of 10, wherein we review the Academy Award nominees for Best Score and Best Picture. Every day until the Oscars this year, which is March 15th, we will be reviewing one film that was nominated for Best Score, and then the other 5 will be the 5 remaining in the category of Best Picture. Altogether, they are the top 10 nominees for Oscars at this year's Academy Awards. Today's film is One Battle After Another, written and directed by acclaimed director Paul Thomas Anderson. The composer for this film is Jonny Greenwood, who is an Englishman, and he's better known for being the lead guitarist in the band Radiohead. He's also known for scoring other Paul Thomas Anderson films, such as one of the greatest films of all time, There Will Be Blood, also The Master and Phantom Thread, not to mention other famous and nominated films, such as The Power of the Dog, which was in 2021, I believe. Johnny's not a newcomer when it comes to being nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. This is his 4th time around, 3rd official nomination, with the first for There Will Be Blood famously being disqualified because they had used pre-existing music, something that the Academy had not previously allowed. And so his 3 official nominations for Academy Awards was in 2017 for Phantom Thread, also Paul Thomas Anderson, Power of the Dog in 2021, and now in 2025, the film came out in 2025 for One Battle After Another. For those 3 films, he also has nominations for the Golden Globes and for the BAFTAs, although the BAFTAs did include There Will Be Blood as his 4th nomination there as well. He's definitely not a newcomer and knows his way around a score or 2. Before hopping into the score, let's dive into the movie a little bit for context. One Battle After Another is this year's front runner for Best Picture, and in my eyes, it's apparent to anyone who has seen the film. It is really just that good. Well, as soon as I finished watching it, I just wanted to talk about it to someone, and I couldn't do that. Unfortunately, by the time I watched it, and there was nobody around, and it was late and whatnot, and it was unfortunate because it really is that good. It's bold, it takes a lot of swings, and I would say that it goes so far as to say it's his magnum opus, if not a co-magnum opus with There Will Be Blood. It's hard to talk about the movie without diving into everything because everything is so well interconnected and written that it would be a disservice to talk about one area and not the others. So I won't go into detail in that, but suffice it to say that the acting is out of this world. The story is out of this world, I thought, and it's so apt. I think that it's super timely, in the sense that you could be like, whoa, is this play about us? Like, all this going on in the world right now, in America right now, is this play about us? But it's not, right? And it's timeless. It's timely and timeless in the sense that you could turn it on 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and it would still feel like, oh man, is this play about us? It really is that good. Not to mention the action. I've talked about the acting, the story. The action is really good. This movie has one of the best, if not, okay, I won't go that far, but it has one of the best car chases in cinema history. It really was that good, and something that I will never soon forget for good and obvious reasons. It's one of those movies that as soon as you finish it, at least for me, I went straight to YouTube to see what everybody was saying about it, to dissect it, to look for analysis, look for, at least for me, video essays as people broke down everything. I saw this series. This guy did a 3-part series on how, like, Paul Thomas Anderson has been, PTA as he's affectionately known, he's been working on writing this and putting this together for years, and the culmination of all of his political theories are coming into that one film. I can't find the series for the life of me for some reason, but it's out there, and it really put this film into a better lens for me that really just took it to that next level, I thought. But now let's transition to my initial reaction of the score as soon as I got out of the theater. I thought that it was unnerving, is what I wrote down. I took notes as soon as I got out of the theater to make sure that I got everything I needed, and it was fresh, and it was right, right at the time, I should say. It was unnerving. It never lets you sit still because the movie doesn't stop. It's unpredictable in the way that it moves, in the way that it moves your emotions and the action. You just, you don't know where you're gonna go next. Like the characters, I should say, you're like, okay, this is gonna happen, and you're like, no, that's not gonna happen. I did not see him crawling, on the floor of a dojo, and then, the whole him having, or I should say, the dojo master Benicio del Toro, being the gang leader, the ringleader, I should say, of this humongous, network of people. I did not see that coming. It was really, and the score let you know that is what I'm trying to get at. And that was awesome how that all worked together. There's a lot of piano, but not in the way that you would think. It's a lot of, I would say, piano keystrokes is what I wrote down. I don't know how else to put it. But it's reminiscent of, and I thought about this multiple times. I don't know why you took me there, but it was very reminiscent of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in the land of make-believe. I'm talking like King Friday with the puppets and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about with the trains? That's exactly what it felt like. Like that transition, or when they're telling the story and you hear like the piano key and you're like, wow, I'm watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood right now. And the fact that it's incongruent and that it's irreverent to what's happening on screen, I think made it feel silly and almost satirical. And it was just absurd. I mean, it felt like a joke, kind of, where it's like this core does not take this movie seriously. In a previous episode, I talked about Wuthering Heights and how I think what I said was that it understood what was at stake. And this time around, it does not even pretend to. It doesn't even try. It's kind of like it's doing its own thing. At points, I heard like Mexican influences, or maybe just Southern, like Texas, New Mexico influence, Tex-Mex like influences in the score, but it felt very much like it did not fit in a 2025 film. It very much felt like it was in a 1970s type film. That's the kind of, I would say, feel that I got when I walked out of the theater, where I was like, wow, this is not at all what I expected regarding the music, but it worked extremely well. But all that said, let's jump into the actual review. But before I do, let me put on my Clark Kent glasses, just in case I say something untoward. I can have the excuse that it wasn't me, it was the other guy. Let's get them. Glasses are on, let's go. Let's first talk about what the score sounded like within the film itself. The first thing I wrote down was that it puts you in the mentality of the characters. And by that, I mean not actual people, like not the people in the film, but they felt like caricatures. And that was absurd. That's what I wrote down. It was just absurd to see them, running and just running away and having a serious thing happen to them, having their, his daughter captured, and this whimsical score is playing in the background. It kind of makes you feel like you're watching a cartoon. That's exactly what it felt like. Like, this is nothing's bad's going to happen, right? And then you're like, oh man, wait a second. Something bad, tremendously bad just happened. How is this not affecting me that much? But I think it's the score. The score lowers the temperature of what you're seeing on screen, so it's a little bit more palatable, because it is very serious what's going on. In the movie, the main character, or Leo DiCaprio's character, does little to nothing of real import in the movie. Like, he's pretty useless, even though he's the one we're following on an adventure. He isn't even the one who saves his daughter. Like, she saves herself. And it's like, why is he the main character? Why are we following him around? And the soundtrack, the score, understands that absurdity and that superficiality of what he's doing, and says, I get it. It's like winking to the audience, saying, I understand, and like, I'm there with you, buddy. It's like, this is nuts. I don't think we should be watching this, or something to that effect. And I thought that was just excellent. The music also keeps you hooked in its own ambiance. Its unpredictability, as I mentioned before, is a feature, not a bug. Because like I said before, the fact that you never knew what the characters were going to do, or you're like, well, this is the right idea, And then all of a sudden, Benicio is telling, Leonardo, hey, buddy, why don't you jump out of the car door, jump out of the car as it's moving. And he's like, what? Yeah, jump out of the car. You're like, I did not see that coming. Or him speaking Spanish and doing that awesome whistle in the movie that people were, giving him props for in comments and the memes and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, that's so dope. And like I said, it was unpredictable and the score understood that. And it was perfect in its execution thereof. I wrote also that it felt like an anthology, meaning that the score itself was like smaller, self-contained stories, kind of like the movie itself that were tied together to make a score. Or the movie itself was like a collection of self-contained stories that PTA just kind of like sewed together, and then like we're calling it one battle after another, and there you go. It really felt so strange. It's so unique and new to me anyway. I could be wrong. Please tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, that if this is not experimental, because it is to me avant-garde to that point. But it's just so quirky. I wrote down, but it bears repeating that it covers its themes with comedy to where you did not expect to be laughing at the movie with such serious themes, but you do. And it's the score that gets you to do that. It's memorable and it adds to the tension. And I thought that it was excellent within the film itself. Overall, within the movie, no notes. It was perfect. It really told the story in a way that made it stick. You know how they say that the gesture is the only one who can really tell the truth? Well, the music, the score in this one, and that's my thesis, was the one that made that pill go down easier. Even if you're not apart from PTA's, let's say, politics or what have you, I thought it was just stellar. Okay, so now let's discuss it as a standalone album. I thought that this was not a listen for everybody. And by that, I mean, it is for mostly nobody. I think if you're trying to feel quirky or uneasy or just feel a little silly, fine, right? Like, if you want to make your life feel like you're living in The Office, or like you wanted to make it like a satire, this is for you. Where if your life is just going to hell in a handbasket, this is probably the score where you're like, you know what? F it, we ball. This is the kind of score for that. But if you're just a regular Joe living a regular life who wants some inspiration, this is definitely not that. It has a lot of, like I mentioned, childish elements akin to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. That's unnerving. My sister came in the house the other day when I was listening to it, and she's like, what is this? What are we listening to? And I was like, yeah, I get it. What are we listening to, B? Because it really is not one that you would put around the house and listen to, as I did to prepare for this review. As I listened to scores multiple times over and over to make sure that I get the entire scope and make a thesis for this. This is not one that you put in the background. I already said that, but I think that the bottom line is that this does not work as its own album for mostly everybody. It works great in the film. I've acknowledged that to excess. You won't see me, who is an avid score listener, listening to this in a year or two, which is the hallmark of the Hall of Fame tier. You probably, I probably won't listen to this again unless I'm trying to feel a little quirky or add a little pizzazz to something serious to, like I said, lower the heat a little bit and make it a little bit more satirical. So that's just the truth of that. Lastly, let's talk about standouts in the album, of which there were only 2 or 3 for me. And one of them stood out because it did not look like the others, and another one was just really, really fun. So the first one on the album is called One Battle After Another, and that was the most normal of them all. I would say it's the second most normal one to another one I'll mention later, but it was pretty basic, pretty plain, and foundational for what we were about to hear next. The second is the French 75, and that one seemed a little noir to me, like almost investigative, like an upbeat noir. I don't know how else to like explain it. Maybe like a little sneaky. That was pretty interesting. Number 7 was I Need the Greeting Code. That was a funny part of the film. It felt, again, brought the noir elements, not noir, the detective elements. It felt like you were finding or examining a dangerous clue. That's what it felt like to me. And I mean, it is dangerous, right? But I mean, I wasn't thinking about the actual movie at that point. I'm, it's a standalone part. It felt just like I said, a dangerous clue. And also like if you were in endless danger, one way you could just put was just suspense. That's just the one word to kind of overall that one to make it just overall for that one. Number 12 was my favorite of the album, and it is called Like Tom FKN like Cruise. That one, again, I put whimsy, playful, and ineffective. Like, the whole name is really funny, too, in the sense it's like Tom F. and Cruise. Like, yeah, okay. Like, no one can be like Tom Cruise. And the fact that you're trying and you're failing so miserably at it is even more comical. So it's perfect. It has no weight to it. Like even though it does in the film and what's happening, it doesn't have any weight at all when it comes to the score and the fact that it's like that it knows to not be taken seriously was just, so that one was the highlight of them all. Number 12, Like Tom F. and Cruise. And then lastly is the most normal of the scores, which I mentioned earlier that the very first was one of the most. It's only second to this one, which is the very last one, which is called Trio for Willa. This one felt like it was an ode to her. It felt like it was cherishing her. It felt like it was an apology, and it felt like it was a closing of the loop. I'm a big fan of when scores can close an emotional loop, and the fact that Jonny was able to do that here with this one, it was perfect. With the fact that it ended, that it went from chaos back to some sort of normality that felt nice and felt like there was hope for Willa's generation to actually be able to do something that didn't involve violence like it did with the French 75. So great job from Jonny Greenwood there. And now that the critics portion is done, I can go ahead and take off the Clark Kent glasses and go ahead and give my final thoughts. I thought that it worked extremely well in the film, as I've outlined, but it did not work outside of the film as a standalone album. So whereas an 8, 9, 10 are reserved for the Hall of Fame, a 5, 6, or 7 ranges from good to very good. This one lands at a 5, meaning good, just good. And the only reason it's even that high is because it was indispensable in the film and took it to what I think is going to be this year's best picture. But as soon as it's outside of the film, its usability to, like, as listeners, as just music, goes down to nearly zero. Not absolute zero, but it goes down pretty low. In other words, as indispensable as it is in the film, it is unusable outside of it, and therefore it lands at a split down the middle 5, which is not great, but it is what it is. So that's my review of the score composed by Jonny Greenwood for One Battle After Another. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow for day 2 of 10 as we go ahead and analyze and review the nominees for Best Scores and Best Picture before the Oscars. See you all then. Take care. Peace.